Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Laura and today we'll make an iced coffee real quick and then we'll get into today's video. So as you can see, I already have ice and coffee. Now we get our shit, we go outside. Let's get a better angle. This is fun. It's like we're just like chilling together. I feel like I look like Sid the Sloth from Ice Age when I do that. Anyways, things I wish I would have known before going into labor, or things that I found really helpful knowing going into labor that like the average person doesn't really know. So if you've watched my like labor and delivery story, you know that I hired doula and I ended up having to use the backup doula as well, which honestly they were both great, but my doula, for the price that she gave us, which was about $1,000, I think it was a little less than that, but it was I feel like it was a really good deal. We met with her monthly, I believe, throughout my entire pregnancy, probably from like halfway through, because I was planning on doing like a hospital birth and everything until about halfway through, and then I was like, no, I want to switch to a birth center. And they had midwives at the birth center, but I also wanted to have a doula, and that way if I like needed to get switched to a hospital, I had the doula there to advocate for me along with my husband, but she's obviously more educated than my husband was. So she taught us so much, and she taught me so much more than I would have paid her twice as much for how much she taught me. And it was just like an amazing experience being able to learn from her. Sorry, I totally just zoned out. One thing she helped me do, which I loved having, was my birth plan. Now obviously when you have a birth plan, it is not, like there's literally no way that your birth plan is going to go exactly the way that you write it out, because something like giving birth is not something that you can really predict, and there were a lot of unpredictable things that happened to me. But with a birth plan, a lot of times you can, like the basics, like I don't want this to happen to me. If you're gonna do this to me, you have to ask me first, because a lot of the times when it comes to labor and delivery, they don't really ask for your consent before doing things like an episiotomy or vacuum or things like that. So I think it's really important to have a birth plan, and then to be able to give that to your doctors or midwives or whoever, so that they know exactly, like they know that you're educated on this obviously, and they know that they need to be more cautious because you know what you want. That is something that I found really helpful, was a birth plan. And then on top of that, you know, coming up with the birth plan, my birth plan was probably like 2 or 3 pages long. When I had to decide what I wanted to put in my birth plan, I had to do a lot of research, and my doula also helped me with that. She steered me toward like good websites to look at, good books to read, things like that, so that I could make decisions for myself. Like she didn't tell me what to do. She just told me to research what to research, and I formed my own opinion about what I wanted to happen to me. Because yes, labor and delivery and giving birth is about the baby, but it's also about the mom that is going through it, which I think is really important to understand, because a lot of women have traumatizing experiences giving birth, and my birth went pretty well, and I still feel some sort of leftover trauma from it. The birth plan and definitely researching stuff beforehand help. So I'll get into more specifics of like what I actually researched. So I decided to take my placenta home with me, which you're allowed to do, but if you're in a hospital, it has to be gone like the day you give birth. Like you give birth to your placenta, and then they put it in like a tub and they put it in a fridge or a freezer, and it has to be like left the establishment that day. And because we weren't getting released the day that I gave birth, they had us stay 2 nights in the hospital. My doula came, and like before she left the hospital, she took my placenta with her and dropped it off at my house where my mom was staying. We just kept it in the freezer because for me personally, I don't fully trust what they are going to do with my placenta post-birth. So I didn't want someone to have that. And I also wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do with my placenta. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to eat it or, you know, dry it out and put it into capsules, things like that. And I ended up just disposing of it myself. But I think that's also something very important to think about. Something that I also did in the hospital was called delayed cord clamping. And sometimes people will delay cord clamping, so umbilical cord clamping, where they clamp it and then they'll cut it off. Some people delay it for days. I just did it until the cord basically stopped like pulsing, because even after your baby is born and the placenta is still inside you and the cord is still attached inside you and to the baby, as long as the cord is still pulsing and is still like full of blood, they're still getting nutrients from the placenta. And I think that that is something really important for them to get even right after they're born, because they've been getting those nutrients for 9 months. I think that is something that a lot of people don't know about. I think that this is something that is also important. Just if this is something that you want, even if you're in the hospital, they'll a lot of the times let the dad or your partner, whoever, catch the baby. And that is what, even though we were in the hospital, that's what my husband did, was catch the baby. And I think that can be a really special moment for a lot of new parents, because as a mom, when you're giving birth, that whole experience is a lot of the times very internal, and you know, you're in your head a lot and you're like trying to get through it and, you know, feeling all the fucking feelings. Once I gave birth, I cried mostly out of relief. And when Derek caught Hazel, my husband, when he caught Hazel, it's like a really crazy experience for them, I think, because they really feel like a, you know, parent at that point. Like, they're like, oh my god, I actually have a baby, like this is my child. And I don't want this video to be too long, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about was laboring positions. So in movies and in a lot of like traditional laboring diagrams, videos, whatever that you see, you always see people like laying on their back with their legs up, right? So that the doctors can get a good view of the baby coming out. But that is literally the only reason that is the most common position to labor in, is so that the doctors can get a good view. When you're sitting on your pelvic bone like that, your pelvic bone moves, but when you're sitting on it like that, it can't move and open up for the baby to be able to come through. And a lot of the times women find it a not very comfortable position. So there are a lot of different positions that you can do. You can squat, you can be on all fours, you can stand and use like a pole to hold on to, or you can have someone hold you. I had been laboring for like almost 2 days, and so I was really tired, and I also ended up getting an epidural, so I was on all fours, but I was in the hospital bed on all fours. There's a ton of different ways that you can do it, even in the hospital. You just have to ask for those amenities, and I think a lot of people don't know that too, and that I think can make your labor a lot better too, is when you have a different laboring position. I hope this video helped someone. If you're pregnant or giving birth, or, you know, thinking about becoming pregnant and know you're gonna have to, you know, go through labor and delivery, just know that you can advocate for yourself, and you're not wrong in telling doctors, your husband, your doula, your midwife, nurse, whatever, what you want. You're not wrong for that, because birth is your experience and your baby's experience only. Those are the only two people that matter in the labor and delivery process. So whatever you can do to make yourself feel the most comfortable throughout that process, do it, and don't feel bad about it. So thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at @PlainOldLaura. I post a lot of mom stuff. I'm a cool mom, not a regular mom. So make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, because it really supports me and helps me grow. I have a podcast with my best friend that you can listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's called Mindfully Climbing. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. All right. Bye.